We are infinite and eternal being. And there's no way out of that. It's impossible to wrap your head around it. When I was a little boy, my mother told me that dying was going to sleep and never waking up. And I processed never for years. What does never mean? And I've talked about this before, but to me it meant never smelling coffee in the morning ever again. And it was unbearable. But what I have come to in my years of meditative practice is that the opposite is true. We are here forever. For absolutely ever. There's nowhere else. And you don't turn it off. You can't turn this off. You can die, and will, but that will not be the end. Because we are infinite and eternal. And we will either return to this life or to life as we know it, or we will find some other way of being, but you do not stop being. In some very strange way, life is a kind of refuge. It's a kind of hiding out from eternity. It's a way of protecting yourself from the vast, unknowable unknown of existence. At least here in life, in this manifested form of being, you have a sense of stability, a sense of temporality. You get to kind of know yourself a little bit. You kind of get to know a kind of microcosmic aspect of this vastness, infinite and eternal thing that you are. It's a rest stop. It's a place of becoming conscious of your true nature. It's small enough, it's digestible enough, it's containable enough within this space we call life to get a bit of a handle on it. It's not a permanent handle and it won't last long, but you will have moments where you will go, This thing of life is a very odd thing. It's so self-involved. Everything we talk about, everything we do is life. How do I live it? What do I do with it? What do I get from it? Where does it go? How did it come into being? What am I supposed to be doing here? How do I look better? How do I find joy in it? How do I get the things I want from it? We're totally self-involved. Self-involved meaning involved with this manifested form, this body that we are. We're so involved in it. We're so involved in its journey through this space that is very, very temporal. It doesn't last long. Like I say, it's a place of hiding out from your infinite self. Why do you want to hide out from your infinite self? Well, good question. But I'll tell you, your little sperm was fighting like mad to get here. You kind of won a race out of some other millions of beings, of little tiny sperm. You were, get me there, get me there. I want this. I want this life. I want to be born. I want to exist. I want physicality. I want to know this stuff. I want to experience love and joy and pain and suffering. I want to know what I am. I want to know it. I want to be it. I want to confront it. I want to exist in it. And so we fight like mad to get here, and then we fight like mad to be here, to thrive here, to exist in this space that is in some ways remarkably hostile to us. But not hostile enough that you can't make a home here, that you can't find a certain kind of joy in being here, a certain kind of beauty and truth and amazement and surprise and wonder. All of that happens here. At the same time, it's not going to let you have it for long. It has a great antagonistic aspect. At the same time that you're trying to build all of this, it's trying to tear it down. And the effort to build it and to create it is Herculean for all of us. It is never easy for anyone, ever. I don't care what caste you're born into, how high-born or low-born you are, it's never easy. And the forces arrayed against us are part of the infinite, part of eternity. In other words, when you leave here, you go into those massive forces, if you will, unprotected, undefended, just blasting out into this enormity of stuff, conflicting forces and stuff. Eternity has no beginning and it has no end, and it is incomprehensible. So I tell you all of this, and I was talking to a friend the other day, and somewhat in these terms, and he said, that's not very reassuring. And, you know, this may not be a reassuring talk on some level, because reassurance is a kind of, it's kind of based on hope. It's kind of based on that there is something that endures that's worthy, that there is something that makes this all endurable. And I think there is. First of all, there's something that happens in this world that is pretty remarkable. Among other names for it is love, kindness, gratitude, joy, bliss, wonder. These amazing qualities that exist within this manifested state. And they come out of somewhere. They somehow manage to manifest. And the mere fact that they manifest is remarkable. I really have come to believe, and have talked about this a lot recently, that we live in a miracle. That this is a miracle. that this condition of existence is manifested grace. It's manifested grace because we are given a moment out of infinite being and we get to touch time. We get to touch physicality, bodies, otherness, each other. We get to meet ourselves. We get to know and experience living and life before we return to the infinite and eternal unknown. And it is, in its potential, exquisite. There are a lot of dark forces at work here, and we all know it because the universe is made out of yin and yang. It has good and it has evil, it has light and dark, it has love and hate. But we get to be here and play with these dynamic forces and tools in a very real way. And we're all here with our own agendas, so some people are finding an exquisitely beautiful journey, and some people are finding suffering beyond understanding. And there are a lot of teachers around trying to help us through this cacophony of forces that are dominating our moment-to-moment existence and dominating our ability to work through it. And we call it working through life. There is something that emerges to help us, and it's called your mind. It's called your ego. And it's there as a helping tool if you let it be that. And it engages with other minds that together can, in potential, solve enormous problems, resolve issues, help each other through this journey. But the mind is also only a tool that, for many people, takes control of their journey. The tool begins to be the leader, begins to be the primary force. And this is kind of a rebellion within the realm of existence, not necessarily unplanned or unprogrammed, because for some reason it appears to happen for everyone. They become very connected to their mind and the ego form that separates them from the infinite. In a way, it's part of the bargain of coming here. In order to control yourself, to keep yourself safe and able to function, you need something that defines rules, that tells you, don't put your hand in that socket. That fire is hot. If you jump off that building, you will die. You need all that information. You need those separations. You need fear. You need ambition. You need hope. You need this drive to keep sustaining this amazing miracle of being. But that very force that's trying to do it ends up in many ways controlling people's lives, and that's a problem. Because then you are stuck here, a victim of your own fears, your own ambitions, your own hope to get and acquire and have, when everything in you quietly and privately knows that nothing you get and have will last. Nothing. So we're in this very funny conundrum of trying to build a world and exist within the miracle, at the same time forgetting that it has very limited duration. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem for people and a source of enormous suffering, because we know we're at odds with ourselves. We know we're not living truth. We know that we're building something as though it's forever, and it can't be, it never will be, ever. This is a temporary rest stop, refuge, miracle in the journey through infinity and eternity. And that infinity and eternity are not a place or a part of existence. They are what you are. You are the infinite and eternal being. You are being, period. The fact that your being is compressed into a singular persona, a body, a form, a mind, a story, the fact that you have all that now is in no ways a limitation on the vastness of your being. It's just a way to witness it. It's a way for the infinite to see itself. That's what you're doing here. That's what we're all doing. We're looking at ourselves. that's going to evaporate. And when it evaporates, it's going to be a great shock. And then it won't be. I remember on my LSD trip, which was my first blast into seeing the infinite again, and the first thing that came to me was, oh, this again. Oh, yeah. And I think that's what happens when we all die. We go, aha, this again. And it's not always like, oh, this again. It's like, oh my God, this again. You realize that you have forgotten your infinite self. You have forgotten your eternal being. And being reintroduced to it is a big shock to this very confined self. It's not greeted warmly by many people, primarily because it is seen as something you forgot. It's seen as a kind of source awareness. And there's a lot of shame for many people looking at themselves in relationship to it. One, because you forgot it. Two, because much of your life was lived in a place of no kindness, limited love, selfishness, absorption in false needs and desires. And so when you see this again, you feel deeply judged by your own embarrassment, by your own shame at how little and how poorly you used this life. And that's a cause of suffering. And many people enter or re-enter their infinite self with this profound sadness, grief, guilt, shame, and embarrassment. The teachings that are manifested in this world that we are in come from a number of souls who try to give us a deeper perspective on or recollection of our true nature, our true being, our true infinite and eternal self. And they try to tell you how you can actually reconnect with this self while you're still here. And so much of it has to do with simple things like sitting still, learning to observe yourself rather than be caught by yourself, learning to observe your ego mind rather than allowing it to dominate your daily existence. Watching it is your first separation from it so that you can regain not so much control, but awareness. And you can see when your ego mind is functioning, you can see the forces in you that are at play, and rather than get caught by them, rather than start to judge yourself in relation to any of it, you just watch it. And in that stillness, in that enormous stillness, there's something that begins to call you. It's very deep and it's very profound, and it's a kind of, Rudy would call it surrender, a kind of letting go, a kind of thy will be done. And it's profound. It's powerful. It starts to settle you down. It starts to give you little bit of a recollection of who you are, of your infinite true self, your eternal self. And you go, I remember this. And for some reason, there's an enormous appreciation of the fact that you became alive and got a body and became materialized and became manifest, because it's through that manifestation that you are learning how to go back to your true self. This is something you could not do when you were thrown into infinite time, space, being, eternal truth. When you were in that, and it was kind of ripping you away from your separateness, all there was is a kind of suffering and loss and like I said, embarrassment. because of your total lack of preparation for return, your total lack of remembrance of it even while you were here. And for many people, that return is so hard. This sitting still, this teaching of being still, is so remarkable because it's a pathway back to the place not only from which you come, but the place that you are. And I say it's the place that you are because you are a human being, and the key word is being. You are being itself. What does it mean to be? Well, that's the question, and that's what we're here finding. We're here exploring what does it mean to be. We are here in a temporal being that is going to give way back into infinite and eternal being, but the being is the constant. Finding your way back to that is a process, and that process starts with stillness, and then it comes with surrender, letting go, and this letting go means to let go of everything you can let go of. In other words, let go of everything that will not last, which is pretty much everything. Just let it go. Interestingly, the minute you let go of stuff, it doesn't go anywhere. It's still there. So you still have it on a certain level, but you don't own it. It's just there. So when I let go of my granddaughter, who I use as a reference point very often, she doesn't go anywhere. She still loves me and comes over and hugs me and kisses me, and I love her, and love is tangible and real and sweet as can be, and it's temporal, meaning it will not be there forever, but it's there in this moment. And whatever I can tell you about life, it's all happening now. A lot of teachings about that, the power of now. Because whatever it is, this now is one with infinite and eternal reality, being. In fact, it's the only handle on it that we have. We know being from this very instant. In a way, it's the only way we know it. Everything else is a memory of what was, which is a kind of a, we had being before, but that is just memory. Or we're going to have more being in the future, which may or may not be true. But this one is true, in that you have it. You have it right now. This is what you've got. It's all you've got, really. It's all you've got, except for the fact that it is a microcosmic version of the true macrocosm of being that you are. The old image of a drop of water recognizing that it's the ocean. That drop of water lives a long time separated from that truth. When it recognizes that truth, it's both terrifying and awakening. Terrifying to the ego mind that thinks of itself as something else, awakening to the ego mind that realizes it has no real existence, separate from the ocean. This is what we're all going through this journey, every one of us right now. Most people are hiding out here in deep unconsciousness, and the world suffers from that. This miraculous place of being suffers from the unconscious aspect of most people's lives. But you need to know all of that dark and frightening aspect is part of the infinite and the eternal. Don't think of the eternal as just sweetness and bliss. It's everything. And as I've been talking about for the last month or two, it's nothing. And there's no way to get your mind around this. There's no way to go, how can it be everything and nothing? How is that possible? We will never, ever know the answer to that. The only thing you will know is what you know by being present now. That's it. And in truth, whatever you know now only relates to now. It doesn't really go into the future or into the past. You can kind of give it instructive quality. You can say, well, if I'm a nice person now, I'm a nice person later, I will have a life that's filled with niceness. That may be true. That may be very valuable information. But the reality is, what's happening right now is what's happening. And to be in that moment and to greet it with gratitude, wonder, appreciation, attention, fullness, seems to me to be very important. And to be unconscious in it seems to me to be the source of unconscionable suffering. And you kind of have a choice. And something has led you to this teaching, something has led this person here to speak this stuff. I'm speaking it, I have to honestly say, without full knowledge. I'm just telling you as it flows out. That might be bigger than this and more than this and less than this, I don't know. My lack of knowing has become more real for me. I can't give you assurance or reassurance at all. And I feel bad about that on some level, because I think you come here for some of that. Or we turn to any of the teachings for someone to say, it's all going to be fine, don't worry about it, it's okay, if you just believe in me, you will have infinite heaven. Maybe. It's not how I look at it. I don't know many people whose belief system is strong enough to carry them through all of the stuff that's going to unravel when you finally return to the infinite and the eternal. Because every part of your belief system goes, something else has to be happening. There has to be a kind of already awakened knowing. You have to kind of journey back into the infinite and the eternal while you are actually here. So that when it returns in its full form, it will be, ah yes, this. Rather than, oh God, which you don't want. Our belief systems are rooted in mind. They're rooted in our experience of day-to-day life. They are part of an intellect and a mind. They are very limited. You might get them deep into your heart. You may even get them into your gut. But all of this stuff unravels. All of it unravels. And where is the truth other than the fact that you have completely let go of everything and just said, thy will be done? That's the journey we're on. That's what we're doing here. We're all trying to do that one way or another, or not trying to do it. If you're coming here for reassurance, then I have to say I'm sorry, because that's not the thing that's being given. I will tell you, if you are here to learn to sit still, go deep, go into your own journey, because nobody else's journey is going to teach you. Nobody else's truth is going to work for you. Nobody's. I don't care how high it is, how elevated, how brilliant it isn't going to open the door for you. The only thing that opens a door for you is you. And either you're in a serious effort to do that, meaning like you really are here to do that, or you're not. And you have to know that for yourself. If you're kind of coming to class every Sunday thinking maybe one day Bruce will push a button and it will all flash open, maybe, but I'm not doing it. And the truth is, as I understand it, is that it's a result of your need, your continuing process, your continuing effort, and it doesn't happen casually, as far as I can tell. If you're in a casual relationship to knowing and to being, you will have a casual experience of knowing and being, and that's fine until it all fades away and you go, well, what was that? What is this? Well, I'm telling you, the question, what was that? What is this? is to be asked right now. Truly, right now. You are sitting in the eye of the storm. You're facing the infinite and the eternal right here. This is what it's making this. That. This is infinite time and space in that. It's solid, it's real, it's conceptual, it has value, it has meaning, it has story, it has everything right here. The time to get it is right here. Right here. Because that's why you came here. That's why you got born. Because you want to find it or you're escaping it. Either way. You know, half of us are escaping it, half of us are, or maybe 98% of us are escaping the infinite, 2% are trying to go, what is this? Because you're heading back into it, trust me. You're heading back into it in a flash of an airplane disaster, you know, stepping off the wrong step, getting old, whatever it is, you're heading back into that vast, infinite reality. And trust me, it comes at you not in abstract terms, it's very real. It takes you, turns you inside out, literally turns you inside out and brings you back into this unfolding of infinite vastness and eternal being. It's not a dreamscape. It's not an abstraction. It's so tangible. It's all of this turned inside out and made into what it really is. And you will go, oh, this again. And then you have to wait. You have to wait for the good fortune. And we're talking maybe eons of what appears to be time before you get another shot at it. Before you come back. Before you leave timelessness, before you leave the infinite, before you leave the eternal to come back into concentrated life. Before that happens, it's like you're out there. And let's put it this way. You may, in fact, find a heavenly experience there. You may likely find a hellish experience. You may find unbearable confusion because you don't have a clue to what this all is. And somewhere along the way you may find total peace, something to the equivalent of deep sleep. The Tibetans say if you're really lucky, you go to the clear light of reality. But most of us find our way back into this yet again with the same opportunity in the next incarnation that you have right now. Right now. This is it. And there's a reason you guys are sitting in this class and hearing these words. It's not like you're here for the fun of it. Something in your life has led you here. And you know, it's like, it's something in you saying, help me. Help me. Because life is basically scary. You know, it's scary because it doesn't last long. And because it's not particularly easy. And because it's going to rip you out of it at some point. So, yes, there's work to be done. And do it. Do it now. And don't get all into your mind about what I'm saying. All I'm telling you is sit still. Spend time finding this deeper space in yourself. And one of the things you'll feel in that deeper space is like, ah, yes. You feel yourself. It feels blissful, embracing, loving, and warm and kind. And you can go there. It's a part of manifested experience. When you get unmanifested, you won't be able to go there exactly, but that space is a reflection of something profoundly at the core of all being. That's all I can tell you. And I'm telling you that not out of a fact, but I know it emerged from that. I know that the love and the joy and the beauty and the reality and truth of life emerged from the annals and the space of being. I don't know how it did it, but God knows I am grateful that it did. And I'm going to live as close as I can to love and kindness and being and gratitude and wonder as is humanly possible every instant I can bring it into consciousness. And more intently, I'm trying to live endlessly in the awareness, not just of consciousness. Consciousness is related to things. Awareness is related to nothing. It's just aware. And in that space, there is also this simple, it's a kind of, it's love unexpressed. It's love in its incipient form. It's just the love of at the core of being. And that's the ride we're on, to find that. And if you don't find it here, trust me, it's hard to find there. It's a much bigger journey, and there's no body, there's no mind, there's just bigness. And it's not even big, because one of the things you discover about the infinite and the eternal, is that every opposite is true. You're not going to like that. Everything that's about love is about hate. Everything that's about good is about bad. They completely merge and interact, and it is a constant interference pattern in a way. It's all there. You can't hold on to anything. Nothing. Everything that seems true is false. Everything that's false is true. It is horrifically complicated to the struggle of that part of your being that's trying to make sense of something that will not give way to sense. So find it now. Find it now. I think that's the only thing a teacher can tell you. Find it now. And we do something interesting in this class, which I like. We sit together and we connect with each other. We look at each other. We don't look away from each other. We don't avoid each other. We don't just chit-chat. We actually just are quiet together. And that quiet together is really interesting, because when two people gather in my name, as Christ said, I am there. When two people gather in the name of being, being magnifies. It reflects itself. And there we are. We're just being together. Being together has its complications, because the ego mind gets a little thrown by it, but you guys are all much more expert at this point. And the ego mind, you just lay it to rest. You just go, not now, not now. And you just sit in being. And the being, as it amplifies itself and it starts to really announce its presence, you go, I'm tasting it. I'm tasting it. You might even say, I am it. But that gets the ego can do damage with that. But it can be that. You discover, I am being itself. I am, there is nothing but being. There's not even a me in it. There's just being. And when you uncover that being, the story of you, the birth, the death, the struggles, the tribulations, the joys, the drama, just kind of subside. And so for a period of time, or no time, you experience just being, and we share it with each other. And it's really beautiful, and it's rare. It's rare. Not a lot of people get it. But you can get it on your own. You can sit down and just be on your own. But you need to develop, as Rudy would call it, a muscle system, because you're actually being with other people all the time. And if you're with other people who shatter your being, who shatter your stillness of being, who get in the way of your joy of being, then you don't have a muscle for it. Then you're just a weak being. But if you learn to say, even this, you let it go, you let it go, you let it go. You don't let anyone, any thought, any person, any emotion, anything at all pull you from this place of being. It's not like you have to hold on to it, because that's the false idea. You can't hold on to being because you are being. What's to hold, really? Being is kind of letting go of everything that separates you from it, which is your mind and your day-to-day activities. Most people are deeply unconscious of being all day long. They walk around completely oblivious to being. But when you are being and you are aware of being and you can be in being consciously, then your job is singular. Don't let anybody take you away from this. And it's the muscle of being is what Rudy called the muscle of letting go. Not the muscle of holding on to being, because that won't work. It's the muscle of let it go. Relax, relax, let go. No, I will not engage in that conversation. No, I will not pursue that line of inquiry. You know, whatever it is that's going to steal you away from being, just go, no, no, no. Shh, shh, shh. And stay with your being. That's strength. That builds real strength inside you. And that strength is ultimately leading you to the infinite and the eternal. It will not be a stranger to you when you arrive, and when you arrive there full time, or when you realize you've always been there full time. This is the miraculous gift of eternity. Really, being alive is a gift of eternity. It's a gift to each of us. And either you use that gift or you don't. Either you wake up to who you are and where you are and what's going on, or you stay asleep and fight to come back and have it again. So that's all I can tell you. I mean, you know, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. I don't want to have to, I mean, I can repeat it over and over, but it doesn't mean anything until you do it. You just have to do it. I mean, you just have to ask yourself, what is this? Why am I here? Who am I? How did this happen? That's all you have to do. You do it now. You know, you don't wait till you're sitting on your deathbed and go, what was that? You don't want to wait that long. So that's kind of all I have to tell you. And I encourage you to engage this now and not just go, oh, that was a good talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Is being a synonym of oneness?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's only one being. There's only one being. We look at it as multiplicities of beings, but that's part of how this works. You know, it takes on multiple forms and they interact, but it's only one being. You know, and you can talk about it forever. I mean, literally, we could all talk about this forever because that's all we do. And we all talk about it forever because none of us gets it, and nobody, and it's so amazing. And the great poets find beautiful ways to talk about it, and you know, I mean, the great golfers are, you know, there's a guy out there playing great golf right now, you know, and everybody's, not everybody, but the golfers are going, my God, I wish I could get that mastery. I don't understand that mastery. We're all finding it through our particular way in, but it's the dialogue. It's the only dialogue there is. What is this? How do we do it? It never stops. It never stops. And a lot of it is just chatter, which is like, he stole my boyfriend. I'm never going to talk to him again, and or she stole my boyfriend. Whatever it is, you know, it's like this crazy little chatter that goes on all the time. That's meaningless, and yet much of the world's engaged in that. You don't have to be. So, here we are. Any other questions?
When a drop of water merges with ocean, it loses its individuality. How about the human being, as when we join that ultimate oneness? Do we lose our individualities on that? Or
if you've been listening to the talks I've been giving since the awakening experience 5 years ago, it kind of chronicles that journey in an interesting way. Kind of, you lose it, and part of it is still there. For one very interesting reason, you're still there. You are now there with the knowledge of being both separate and one with what is, with being. And I try to describe it in a way, the way physicists talk about light, and they call light a particle and a wave. And they say it's both, depending on how you look at it. One way you look at it, it's a particle, which would be an Ashgar particle, and another way you look at it would be a wave, and it would be infinite time, infinite being. And it's all part of the whole. It's one thing. So it's learning how to be what you are, which is definitely an expression. That drop of water is an expression of the ocean, and the ocean. And how do you deal with that while you're still in bodily form? And mostly, I mean, we're all working that out. It's meditating, sitting still, connecting. It's bringing that vast awareness of the oceanic truth to the moment of every moment of your life, trying to do that, which means you probably won't want to run around killing people maybe, or your anger will not rush to express itself so quickly. You'll find a way to look at it, to feel your way through life, and it becomes kind of a much more conscious, highly sourced life. You become much more aware of the self of yourself. And you don't see separation. And you suddenly you're an emanation of that true self. It will speak through you. There's no way Bruce gives these talks. There's no way. Bruce is a kid from Detroit who knows nothing. But he's been on a journey and of stripping away Bruce. Stripping away and stripping away and stripping away. And somewhere 5 years ago, a huge chunk of Bruce fell away. I don't know how or why, it just happened. And this thing started to kind of pour through. Every so often there are Bruce aspects that keep happening. Bruce is still a body. It's still, it still gets sick. It still has issues. There's still a mind that still has issues, but they are nothing compared to what they were. At one point they filled the screen of being. Now they're this little tiny, very appropriately scaled down small part of my being. My being is much bigger, as all of your being is, but you don't know it. And my goal, in a sense, is to either remind you or encourage you, figure it out. Know who you are, know your being. This is not rocket science. I know people think it is. How do I get to this Buddhistic space of truth? You just keep looking. Just keep asking, what is this? What am I doing here? It's recognizing, if it's possible, that this infinite being, which we can call God, which is a great name for it, this infinite God is the floor you're sitting on, this table, this person you're listening to, you who's listening, the screen behind me, the sky outside, the hills. It's all here now. It's not just, oh God, I got to get in the car and go shopping. That's you can look at that differently. You can say, the wonder of someone drew milk from a cow, got it bottled or cartoned, took it to a supermarket, kept it cold, made it possible for me to move through that supermarket, to get that carton, take it home to another place to cool it and preserve it. This is all happening in some remarkable, miraculous way for you. Not to say, oh God, I have to go shopping to get some milk. And that's just another way of living. And that's what starts to happen. Once you awaken to self, you walk around and you go, you look at the trees blooming in the spring, and you almost can't move, because it is, and that's it's being. Everything is being everything, and it goes way beyond anything we can imagine or conceptualize. And you become very small in it, because you realize there's no way for you to get it ever. You're just going to get your little piece. And I will tell you, when you hug somebody and you feel love and you feel connection, you're getting it. It's wordless. It doesn't say anything. It's like, boy, this feels right. It's harmonic. It's orchestral. It's simple. It's beautiful. And you say yes to it. That's kind of all that happens. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Jenny.
So, if a person has not yet attained an awakened consciousness, is it feasible or possible to have, it's like a flitting, like in and out, like light going in and out of clouds?
Jenny, you're here. Stop it. You're here right now. You're completely awake to being here right now. What's this whole thing about if you haven't attained consciousness? You're conscious right this second. You are it. This is it. This is it. It's not something else. It's not something you're going to get to. You're it. You're there right now. Period. Done. There's nothing else. This is that awakening. Even if it's for a spark of a second, you're here. You're not going to get it by 20 years from now because you sat and you did work and you wrote books or you read books. It's not more than this. I mean, the crazy thing is what you're awakening to is this, nothing else. And this not as like, oh God, this. It's like this. That's the only difference. It's like seeing it for the first time. Or maybe seeing it like you did when you were a child. You have great connection to childhood awareness and wonder. You absolutely have that. Just keep looking at the world that way. Okay? When you go to the De Young this week, open your eyes and go, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Because I know you're going and I know you love that show. But try to take that into this moment too. This is no less than that. The peak moments are the easy ones. You know, when the rainbow happens, everybody goes, oh, you know, and then people take out the camera and they destroy the moment. But the reality is, this is that moment. It's not other than this. And how do I get that through to people? You keep thinking it's going to be the next moment or the other moment or down the road or when you achieve this or when you do that. Forget it. Forget it. It's not anywhere ever again but now. Ever. And you're already there. Even if you don't see it, you're there. And you do see it. You're looking at it. You're hearing it. And everything in you is going, but. And that stupid little but is cutting it off and cutting it off and cutting it off and cutting it off because you are terrified of seeing it. As is everybody. You're terrified of the self, of yourself, of being. And everybody is terrified for all the wrong reasons. There are good reasons to be terrified. But the real reasons are be yourself and discover a door into the joy of being, not into the horror of being. Okay? God. It's, you know, I mean, really, how do you get people to get it in the moment? Not to get it down the road, to get it now. If I could push that button, that's all I would do. It's the insanity of our minds that are constantly somewhere else. Bring it back, surrender, open, and go.